Few people could have imagined that the same athlete who once charged fearlessly through chaos on the football field would eventually discover his deepest strength in stillness and breath. Jacoby Brissett spent years navigating pressure, collisions, expectations, and uncertainty beneath bright stadium lights, yet some of the most important moments of his life unfolded far away from the roar of the crowd. His story became more than one about athletic perseverance. It became a quiet reflection on mindfulness, emotional balance, and learning how to remain grounded while the world moves endlessly around you. When the thunder of the stadium finally faded after games, there were moments when Jacoby would sit alone in silence, eyes closed, breathing slowly while the noise of the outside world drifted into the distance. Few people ever witnessed those quiet pauses. To fans and commentators, he represented toughness, adaptability, and composure under pressure. But beneath that image existed someone constantly learning how to calm his own restless thoughts. Professional football demanded enormous emotional discipline. Every decision happened in seconds. Every mistake was dissected publicly. Every opportunity carried pressure attached to it. Jacoby understood early that physical strength alone was never enough to survive in such an environment. The mind had to remain steady even when everything else became unpredictable. There were nights when anxiety moved quietly beneath the surface like a hidden current. The expectations placed upon him felt endless at times. Competition never truly stopped. Even after games ended, the pressure remained. Questions about performance, leadership, and future opportunities constantly surrounded him. Over time he began realizing that if he did not learn how to protect his inner peace, the noise of the world would slowly consume him completely. That realization eventually guided him toward meditation and mindfulness. At first he approached the practice cautiously. Sitting still felt unfamiliar for someone whose life revolved around movement and reaction. Yet something changed the first time he truly focused on his breathing without distraction. The outside world remained loud and demanding, but internally he discovered a space untouched by pressure. He remembered how strange that calmness initially felt. Around him life continued rushing forward at full speed, but inside himself there was suddenly still water where there had once only been tension. It was not an escape from reality. It was a way of reconnecting with himself beneath all the expectations and responsibilities he carried daily. As his mindfulness practice deepened, he began questioning why so many people spent their lives constantly racing forward without ever pausing to check whether their spirit could keep pace with their ambition. In quiet moments of meditation, he discovered that slowing down was not weakness. Sometimes slowing down was the only way to hear the truth within yourself clearly. On the football field, Jacoby spent years learning how to evade defenders and survive pressure. But during meditation he realized the greater challenge was learning how to release the defensive posture he carried internally. His body had become conditioned for constant readiness. Even off the field, tension remained inside him like armor he forgot how to remove. Mindfulness slowly taught him how to soften without losing his strength. What surprised him most was how deeply peace affected every other part of his life. The more grounded he became internally, the more clearly he could navigate external pressure. Instead of reacting impulsively to stress, he learned how to pause, breathe, and return to center. That ability became one of the quiet foundations of his resilience. As his career continued beneath intense public attention, Jacoby noticed something important. Fame and recognition alone could never provide lasting fulfillment. Applause disappears quickly. Public opinion changes constantly. If a person builds their entire identity around external validation, peace becomes impossible to sustain. Meditation gave him something more stable, an inner foundation that did not depend on praise or criticism. Over time he began sharing these ideas gently with others. The calm focus that once helped him survive difficult moments in competition gradually transformed into a source of encouragement for people struggling with stress, fear, and uncertainty in their own lives. He often explained that mindfulness was not about perfection. It was simply about returning attention to the breath and allowing yourself to exist fully in the present moment. He spoke about how pressure arrives like waves. Fighting every wave only creates exhaustion. But breathing through difficult moments with awareness allows the mind to remain flexible rather than breaking beneath emotional weight. This philosophy softened him in many ways. He became less consumed by proving himself and more interested in understanding himself. Even while continuing to compete at the highest levels, Jacoby maintained the quiet ritual of morning meditation. Those moments before the world fully awakened became sacred spaces where he could reconnect with his thoughts without interruption. In stillness he found clarity. In silence he rediscovered balance. Late at night, after long practices and exhausting games, he sometimes reflected on the younger version of himself sitting quietly in locker room corners trying to process pressure he did not yet fully understand. Those early moments of emotional exhaustion eventually became part of the wisdom he carried forward. He no longer viewed vulnerability as weakness. Instead he saw emotional awareness as another form of strength. Watching others find calm through his example brought him a fulfillment deeper than athletic achievement alone. Victories on the field created excitement and celebration, but helping another person rediscover peace within themselves carried a quieter and more lasting meaning. Human connection, he realized, mattered more than public recognition ever could. As the years passed, the pressures he once struggled to express openly slowly transformed into compassion for others carrying invisible burdens. He understood how many people walked through daily life appearing composed while silently fighting anxiety, exhaustion, or emotional uncertainty. That understanding made him more patient, more grounded, and more gentle toward both himself and others. Today, Jacoby Brissett's story feels meaningful not because it is perfect, but because it is human. It reminds people that strength and softness can exist together. A person can remain competitive while still protecting their peace. Someone can move through chaos without allowing chaos to define their spirit. Perhaps that is why his journey feels so calming. Beneath the intensity of professional sports, beneath the expectations and headlines, there remains a man quietly learning how to breathe through life with honesty and balance. His story reminds us that peace is not something waiting far away in the future. Sometimes it exists in the simple act of pausing long enough to notice our own breath. And as the memory of his journey settles softly into the quiet of night, there lingers the image of a man sitting calmly in silence while the world rushes around him, breathing slowly, no longer searching for peace because he has finally learned that it was within him all along.